St. John's knocked off Rutgers 91-85 in a charity game, the first game of the season for Ace Bailey and Dylan Harper, two top 5 recruits and potential top 5 NBA draft picks this upcoming season. It was only an exhibition, but there are things to note, and I'm going to go through some of the plays right here that I think stood out. So we have to start with Dylan Harper and Ace Bailey for Rutgers, as they're just going to be the big names, the big storyline for the season for Rutgers. And even just the first play of the season, you're going to see how much of an improvement having Harper and Bailey offensively is from last year. So Rutgers is going to start with a pin down right here for Bailey and eventually just flow into get action. So Harper's going to toss it to Bailey and immediately get it right back. This is just going to set up spacing things and potential pick and roll options like that. You're going to see big man's going to, Ogbole is going to come up for a screen and Harper's just going to drive. Because look now, as Bailey's kind of dropping down, there's a lot of space right here, a lot of opening. Defense, the big man right here, he's going to have to stay with Ogbole. And so now as Harper drives, he's able to rotate back, and this is a super tough finish, but Harper's still able to get downhill and create a look. Another example here of Rutgers getting Dylan Harper a look, and I think they did a pretty good job of creating good sets. I think some of the tempo and timing is going to have to improve throughout the season, but it was just an exhibition game, so there's a lot of time to work on that. I think this type of play right here is going to be something that Rutgers should go to a lot. So basically just a simple down screen where Bailey's going to come up, get it in the slot, and then immediately followed by a back screen or a rip screen set for Dylan Harper. And so now what this is going to allow to do, Harper's now going to be down here, and this can essentially turn into Spain pick and roll with Harper setting a back screen if they want. They can allow Harper to fill up to the top if they want. Bailey's going to have the ball. He can go off a pick and roll here if he wants. So a lot of kind of optionality with it. Now, Bailey doesn't do much with it, and I think the spacing concern is a bit too. St. John's, which we'll talk about in a sec, does a good job of kind of really showing help digging in. But now, when you have a guy like Ace Bailey and you have a guy like Dylan Harper, once you give them any sort of advantage, it's just going to be good results. So now Harper can attack, get downhill, and then get the shot. St. John's was dominant on the glass. They had 21 offensive rebounds, and it was a big reason why they were able to pull out the win. And we're going to look at a play here where they're going to give themselves multiple chances just by being active on the glass, having good size. The other thing to note is Rutgers does not have a true 5, right? Martini's out there is kind of the pseudo 5. Dirkak sort of can play in the post if needed defensively, but you don't really probably want that. Ace Bailey's going to be tasked with a lot of rim protection. We'll talk about that more in a sec. But St. John's going to flow through their offense, right, and move the ball, get some looks going. And so they're going to be trying to set up the post right here. And so you're going to notice, right, this is Ejiofor right here. He's going to have Dirkak on him. Dirkak is more of a guard wing. Going to go to work in the post, gets a decent look. Nothing happens, but he gets the offensive rebound. And so now St. John's can reset. And so now this is just going to, again, turn into, hey, you have the mismatch. Let's go to another post up. And again, he's going to get an okay look. You're going to see there, right? Ace Bailey comes over and helps protect the rim, which is great. But now St. John's again gets the rebound. Ejiofor had 10 offensive rebounds himself, goes back up, gets the bucket, and that was just a huge reason why St. John's was able to win. So this next clip is going to focus on two things, and this is where I want to emphasize that this is an exhibition. Teams are going to try to do things, different lineups, things like that. Rutgers is going to have the ball inbounded here to Ace Bailey in the corner. Now St. John's is going to jump trap. Ace Bailey being 6'10", he does a great job of just being able to get the ball out. And so now as it rotates, Rutgers in theory has the advantage. But this right here is what I want to point out. St. John's did a good job of forcing turnovers. They did a good job of helping on drives. And so right here, guarding Jeremiah Williams, he is not really known as a shooter. And so that's where you're going to see a lot of help. And so as this drive happens from Jamichael Davis, notice that there just isn't a lot of room to work, right? This Brady Dunlap right here is going to dive in off of Jeremiah Williams. Ogbole's not a shooter either, so they're going to just be able to pack in the paint. And what I'm going to be watching for this year is, does every team do this, or is this a St. John's thing and they did a very good job of creating deflections that way? So as that happens, you're going to see here, right, coming in for the drive. Now they're going to get the strip. I mean, he's going into 3 guys. And yeah, so now the ball's going the other way. Rutgers went on a 22-0 run in the first half, and a lot of it, honestly, most of it was predicated on just being this elite defensive team. And so you're going to see here. Now this right here, probably the worst part of this defensive play that I'm about to show. St. John's able to get downhill, create a kick out, nothing happens from it. And so now as the play progresses though, St. John's is going to kind of flow into basically a continuity ball screen type look. So ball moves there, nothing happening, and just notice that the ball is going to keep staying along the perimeter. And so again, try to flow to the other side, or another pick and roll here. Nothing really happening at all. And so now, okay, as they try to drive, Dylan Harper showed that, especially against point guards, like, he can just eat up space, 6'6", and just make life really difficult. I mean, he pushes the point guard out to what, 35 feet. And so now as he's trying to make a pass right here, nothing's good really coming from it from Devion Smith. Has to kind of throw a weaker pass, and now that's a turnover going the other way for Rutgers, and that's kind of what built that 22-0 run. It truly was an elite defensive stretch from Rutgers during that 22-0 run, and that's where like the ceiling of Rutgers really comes in, of like they could be one of the best teams in the country. Now, what St. John's finally was able to do, and it took them forever to do, it felt like, during this run, was get Rutgers into a defensive rotation. Rutgers was not having to rotate at all. They were not really having to leave their man. I mean, you're going to even look here with Jermichael Davis. He's going to be really pressuring the ball, and he's still going to force a ball handler to get way out. But now with this, they're going to be able, St. John's is going to finally be able to actually create some sort of look. And so this right here, with Io being able to actually get downhill, now this is where Rutgers is going to have to rotate. I am going to rewind just a couple seconds because I want to emphasize also the other thing I think St. John's did a good job of, and it'll probably be some of their offensive philosophy, is playing a lot higher, right? You're going to see this is basically a 1-4 high alignment. He's kind of sunk down into the corner, but in general, St. John's is playing a bit higher. And so now as we progress through the play, I'll kind of just let it roll for a second, is now as that happens, Rutgers is having Lathan Somerville, which is one of their 2 true centers in. He's now having to stay up at the top. And so now when this happens and Rutgers is forced into rotation, nobody's able to really help. Jermichael Davis tries for the block, but there is absolutely no rim protection whatsoever for Rutgers right there. So this play specifically, I want to just watch Ace Bailey and what he does defensively, because I think this concept is something Rutgers is going to go to a lot, especially when it is Martini at the 5, or just kind of this smaller lineup where maybe Ace Bailey's sort of the 5-2. So here, Ace Bailey's going to be on ball. And now from here, really watch where he stays. So Rutgers is going to have them switch back as the ball's on the weak side. And so what this does right here, as you know, St. John's switches, Ace Bailey is now the low man. He is now going to be the one that's able to help protect at the rim. And so just watch him and what even with St. John's does, how Rutgers counters it. So you're going to see Bailey, I mean, right there, he steps up a little bit, expecting to tag the roll. And now as this happens, okay, another switch right here. So that way Ace Bailey, he can stay down low. He can stay the one being protected at the rim. And so, I mean, on the drive, there's a block here, but you can see the thought process, right? Keep Ace Bailey as the low man. He's 6'10", insanely athletic. Let him be the one that comes over and helps protect the rim. And that's going to be kind of positioning, and I think that stuff Rutgers will go to a lot. Now, I wouldn't call it a like lights out shooting day from St. John's. They were 7 of 21, but how they got a couple of their looks were interesting to me. So you're going to start in the kind of weave and just keep the ball up top in this weave look, and that's going to set up a pick and roll. Now Harper's point of attack defense was just really, really good yesterday, and I'm excited to see where that's able to go in the future too. So stays with there, rescreen. Ogblay's going to be kind of up at the top, but again, this is where we're noticing, okay, Ace Bailey is going to be tasked as the low man a lot. Here, as the ball comes into the middle and kind of into the slot up top, he is very much in position to tag the roll, especially with Ogbay playing closer to at the level. If Ogbay is going to be closer to at the level, that is going to put a lot more pressure on Bailey on this backside. And again, look at St. John's spacing. I mean, they have a lot of guys up here. This is kind of what they went to, is 3 guys, basically free throw line extended, 1 guy in the corner. With Bailey being that guy here, they know that Bailey's going to be the one helping at the rim. And so now this kind of skip pass over to 3 is going to be there. Now, Bailey being 6'10", like this is, I don't think I need to like overemphasize how crazy of a closeout that is, that he actually kind of contested that, but the thought process is there that, hey, Bailey's going to be put in these tough spots. He's also good enough. He might just make it work this season. I think this set that I'm going to show right here is going to be kind of a staple for Rutgers. It's going to be a horn set. You can see right here, Dylan Harper is kind of throwing up horns. And so we'll show what that means in just a second, but shows the horns. And I think with Harper and Bailey, they're going to go to this a lot. So horn set, basically 2 guys at kind of elbow extended up at the slot setting screen, 2 guys in the corner. The other thing to note with this is what exactly Are there going to be shooters in the corners? Are these going to be non-shooters? Are defenses going to respect them? Because spacing can be interesting. Bailey sets the screen, Harper comes off of it, and then you're just going to see eventually Ogbole dive and Bailey pop. And so very simple, but I think it's going to be an effective way to get your two best players involved in an action, put defenses in tough spots. Bailey doesn't make this one, but he showed throughout the night he can make any shot that he wants. I think this plays a pretty important example of what Rutgers really could be, especially if some of the other guys get going. No Harper on the floor due to foul trouble. Ace Bailey's still in the game. High pick and roll here, and so what's going to come after that is St. John's does a good job of kind of hedging, forcing Durkak to step back, but Rutgers has a couple of these guys, Durkak, Jeremiah Williams, JaMychal Davis, guys that can still kind of create for themselves. And so now as Durkak turns downhill, we mentioned before, St. John's has showed a lot of help. They're going to dig in a lot. And so you're right here, right? Basically everybody's at the midline or over for St. John's. And so now Rutgers has the advantage. And now it's going to be a kick out. JaMychal Davis is willing to make the extra pass. All this leads to Ace Bailey now catching with an advantage. Now he just goes up with this and he's going to drill it, but like he could also drive and just there's a lot of good things that come if others are able to create the advantages first for Rutgers. After that initial just kind of defensive masterclass from Rutgers in the first half, I think St. John's settled in and they found some good stuff, especially in the second half. So Rutgers kind of is showing press. They're going to drop back, going to be what Rutgers does. St. John's going to move the ball around. And so nothing crazy right here, but I think what I like is so as they get the ball over here, and so now they're going to be setting up a pick and roll for RJ Lewis. Lewis is going to come off, and St. John's knows that Rutgers has been showing with Ogbole, and so now with that, they're just going to have Ejiofor slip this screen, and now he's going to be catching on the move. Ace Bailey again, he's going to be tasked with being the low man here. He's going to not really rotate it all over and just give up the dunk, not worth getting the foul, but also just like notice St. John's spacing. Like, well, as I rewind, really good spacing again. You have multiple guys and shooters. You're putting Ace Bailey in the low man. He maybe could be positioned a bit over, but remember before when Ace Bailey was positioned more here, that meant there was a kick out three. So just a tough spot, and I think a really good offensive read from St. John's. In the last play, just kind of highlighting, I think Rutgers is obviously going to be much, much better this year than they were last year offensively. And a lot of that is obviously just Dylan Harper and Ace Bailey. I also think some of the stuff that they ran had good promise, although the timing may need to work, but there are still just little things. And so this is with down one with 40 seconds left. Bailey's going to come up and basically ghost this screen. But right here already, maybe this is by design, just to try to create more space, but like I would love to see Harper be down here more, so that way when Bailey ghosts this, there's actually a decision for his defender to make, right? Harper's going to have so much gravity, Bailey's going to have so much gravity. This two-man game can put a ton of pressure on defenses, but with this being right here, it basically just turns into an ISO. And so now, as Harper has the ball and he gets downhill, we're going to bring it back one more time. St. John's does a good job of digging in. They're not respecting JaMychal Davis as a shooter. They're not going to respect Jeremiah Williams as a shooter. And so now as Harper kind of loses the ball, St. John's going to be able to dig in and steal. My other thing with it is why not have Dylan Harper go to his strong hand to the left? You could run this play, have Bailey ghosting out to the other side and have Harper getting to his strong hand, his left hand going downhill. Just little things like that, right? The upside is immense for Rutgers, but I think there's little things like that that will play a big part in their success. If you enjoy, please like and subscribe for more college basketball film breakdowns.